Okay, so look at this here. Limits upon federal power ought to be prioritized because violation of limits necessarily means the violation of individual rights, while exceeding enumerated powers and violating mandated procedures do not. This is definitionally so because individual rights comprise the distinction between prohibitions, limits, and overreach, exceeding powers. To be. To be. Respect for individual autonomy is how we measure the success of a nation, or a nation's government. Actually, well, call this 3 instead of 2B, okay? Call this 3. Individual autonomy is how we measure the success of a nation's governance. Sorry about that, I got out of your way.
Does that word necessarily means the violating?
The violation of individual rights while exceeding enumerated powers and violating mandated procedures do not. (3A) Rights violations do legitimize
What's that word? This is the violation of individual rights while exceeding.
While exceeding, 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 enumerated powers and violating mandated procedures. Okay.
And the violation of individual rights while exceeding enumerated
Powers. And violating mandated procedures. All right. So, individual autonomous have an edge with the nation's government. Rights violations delegitimize the institutions that commit them. Only when individuals violate the rights of other individuals do the rights of anyone become forfeit. In the absence of a rights forfeiture, government behavior violating rights comprises a crime, and those individuals tasked with carrying out the government policy are reduced to the status of criminals. In other words, if a police officer pulls you over and gives you a ticket for rolling a stop sign, unless you rolled that stop sign and ran into somebody else, the police officer is engaged in a criminal act of violence against you. Okay, it's important for us to remember that. If you are driving down the street and you run a stop sign, but you don't hurt anybody, crash into anybody, cause any actual problems, then if the police pull you over and give you a ticket, it's the police officer who is being a criminal. Why? Because you've not engaged in any rights violations, therefore you have not made any forfeiture of your own rights. So the police officer using coercion or use of force or threat of force to get you to pull over and take some money from you is in fact stealing. Okay? Stealing what? Where are you? Over here? Oh, exceeding powers. So when the police, and another example, when the police arrest somebody for drugs, let's say they find somebody and they've got some cocaine and it's illegal and they arrest them. Is it the cocaine user who's a criminal? No, it's the police officer who's a criminal, because the police officer has no legitimate claim to that individual's cocaine, and there's no legitimate reason to prohibit possession of objects. So therefore, the police officer is a criminal when he arrests somebody for drugs, takes their drugs away. He is stealing and engaging in threats of violence.
So you're saying it's okay to have cocaine?
I'm saying it's not anybody's concern but the individual who has it. We don't get to have a position about whether Joe does cocaine. You know why? Because it's Joe's body, not ours.
But cocaine is illegal to the police officer. Isn't the police officer supposed to arrest it?
Well, yeah, they're supposed to. But the problem is, when you have non-crimes that have been designated crimes, what happens? You see, if let's say I'm a murderer and I kill somebody. Well, and the police come in they know me. They're like, "Oh, Eric, you totally killed that person. Why did you do that?" And they go, "Oh, it's okay. Eric's cool. Just let him go. Just let him go. Well, it's not going to happen to the murder, right? Because the murder victim, that person's family is going to come and say, "Hey, why are you letting the murderer go? He committed a crime against my family." Now let's talk about the cocaine user. The cocaine user is just walking down the street having fun, being on cocaine or whatever. But the police arrest him. If they decide to let him go, who complains?
Nobody.
Nobody. Why not?
Because they don't care.
Why does nobody care?
Because nobody.
Correct. Because the cocaine user didn't violate anybody else's rights. So the problem is you have laws that are applied arbitrarily when you have non-crimes. So the police officer may arrest you, or he may decide to let you go. It's up to him because nobody cares. Because nobody's rights were violated except for the drug user who's being arrested. His rights are violated. Drug laws are the biggest human rights violation that nobody cares about. Are they a human rights holocaust? Absolutely. Ought we hold the government accountable for this? Absolutely. Ought we put police officers in jail for arresting drug users? Yes. After all, they're using criminal violence and theft. Whether or not it's their job is irrelevant. If it were my job to stamp on puppies, I still wouldn't do it. If it were my job to go around and slap little children in the face, I still wouldn't do that job. I'd quit that job and I'd find a job where I didn't have to do that, right? Just because something's your job doesn't make it okay to do it. Just because your boss tells you to do something doesn't make it okay. Just because the teacher tells you to do something doesn't make it okay. So if I'm like, God, Lena, you have been loud for the last time in this class. Eric, go over there and hit her.
Okay.
Now, should Eric do that? No. It doesn't matter that I'm an adult telling him that or a teacher or whatever. He needs to say, no, you have not provided adequate justification for criminal violence, ma'am or sir, because Colina has not engaged in any rights violation of another, so we cannot violate her rights. And so, yeah, obviously, it doesn't matter who your boss is or
But
whatever.
you can give her detention.
I mean, I shouldn't even be able to do that. Because why should she be forced to be in this place where she has is not consensual?
Yeah, but she's bothering with people and stopping them from learning.
Okay, well then maybe she should get. If I was student in that class and teacher says that you're bothering other people, Eric, I say,